Hi, everyone. Number one Marmaduke fan here, and today I am joined by independent comic writer IndieDaveComix, who you may also know from YouTube, and Paul, aka ZZombie13 on Twitter, an independent comic artist. Say hi, Paul and Dave.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Greetings and salutations.
So today we're going to be talking about, these two have been working together on some comic projects, and they've got a action comic planned for soon in the future, likely on Indiegogo. And let's start with Dave. So the two of you, you first started working together in January. Is that right?
I think so, January or December. I can't remember exactly when, but yeah.
And the name of the project for now, the working name, is Codename CyberLynx.
That is correct.
And the beginning of this was kind of interesting. So am I right that Paul was interested in just doing some comic art for practice, and that was how you two met and started working together?
Yeah, basically I responded to a Twitter post that he put up. I was already working on another script, and he was looking for something real short so that he could work on for his portfolio. And I was like, yeah, I got this, and I can probably build it up a little bit for you. And I pulled a scene out of my other comic, kind of built it up. It was a side character, and I gave him the script, and he liked it, and it was cool because I told him, yeah, you can design the character too, and so yeah, he designed the character, and we started working on the script. We ended up building it to 9 pages, and we ended up like really working together.
It's interesting to me when a character starts out, but that's literally what happened to Popeye. They started as a side character. You start working with them, and then they start taking on some new life and becoming their own thing. So your next project you're working on together is going to be starring CyberLynx, right?
Yes. It's funny because while we're bouncing ideas around, originally she was just Lynx, and then a bunch of other people, but there were a bunch of other characters also with the name Lynx. And it turns out one of the hardest things to do when you're writing a character is coming up with a name, a superhero. Yeah. And we had bounced around. And he said we had said, "Oh, how about CyberLynx?" And so that's cool. And Paul had said something. Oh, it sounds like a computer program, like for early internet stuff. And that got my brain going. I'm like, oh yeah, and it could have this and that and do this and that, and that's how the character kind of built up bigger.
Paul, could you tell me a little bit about the 9-page comic that you worked on with Indie Dave? What was that like for you?
It was a lot of fun. I've tried to, over the years, I've worked with a lot of writers, and I don't know, it's hard sometimes for an artist to get along with a writer. The writer wants to go one direction, and the artist wants to go another, and I don't know, man, we just kind of struck up a friendship, and I think we work well together. I think we both appreciate collaboration. Needed, God knows I've turned in a few pictures that needed a little bit of criticism, and he was happy to provide it, and I was happy to take it to heart. And I like to think I brought a couple of ideas to some of the things we've drawn and written together.
Something I appreciate.
It's been a lot of
fun. Go ahead. That's awesome. And something I appreciate in the work I've seen you two make is that, Paul, you can work in sort of a cartoony style, and you can work in a real action style. Could you tell us a little bit about how long you've been drawing and how you like to work?
Oh man, I started drawing as soon as I could hold a pencil. All the way through, grade school, middle school. I was always the guy who's too busy sketching to pay attention and flunking math. But by golly, I drove my style home. And I did a comic strip for a couple of years back about 10 years ago. It was, if you're familiar with the Halo video games.
Yeah.
I did a Halo fan comic for, gosh, a little over a year. It got pretty popular. At one point, we were getting about 4,000 unique visitors every time I drop a comic.
Wow.
It's not too bad. It was fun, but I had a lot of personal family drama and stuff, and I ended up having to kind of drop it. I dropped it right around cartoon number 117, if that means anything to the Halo fans. It should.
So for you, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying that was for more of a cartoony style, and then, you know, over the years also trying to develop a comic. Hang on just a second. You guys go ahead.
All right. Well, Dave, while Paul's getting that, let me think. So, Dave, you've worked with Abai Canales before in the past, right?
Yes, just recently.
Neat. So, what kind of comic writing did you do before getting involved in like comics Twitter? Anything like that? Any kind of writing or short stories?
I used to collect comics, and when I was in high school in the '90s, I collected a lot of comics, and I used to be into drawing, and I was never as good as he is, but then I went to college and ended up doing other stuff and never really picked up, got any better, really worked on it, and then I was out of comics for 20 years. Then Zach's videos started popping up on my YouTube feed. So I started watching. I was still kind of into comics. I still liked comics, but I didn't really collect anymore. And I watched a few of his videos and watched him roast some of these things. I was like, man, I think I could do better than that. I think I could write comics better than the ones he's roasting. And so
yeah,
that's what I started doing. I said, all right, well, let's figure out how to write a script. So I looked up online and found out, comic scripts. And I was like, all right. And I kind of said, all right, because I'd never written anything published or anything. But I used to write a lot and I used to read a lot. And I'm like, I think I can put a decent story together. Mm-hmm. And so I had, I started, like I said, this script came from another script I was writing. And I finished that one and I showed it to a couple of people. And, well, they said, oh, that's pretty decent. You got, dialogue down and stuff like that. It wasn't fully complete at the time. So, and then I hooked up with Paul, and then we worked on that one. We're working on this one. eBay, I'm just kind of friends with eBay. Sort of I met him on Twitter from Zach's videos and that kind of stuff. And I had a quick horror story that popped in my head one day, and it's only like 4 pages. And I was like, I wonder if eBay will do it. It seems like to his kind of style, And he was like, yeah, cool. So we did that one, and I submitted it to an anthology, and I haven't heard back, and it's been a while. So I'll probably try to shop it around a little bit.
So you've worked with eBay. What's interesting is I kind of had the similar story of watching Zach's videos and getting into comics analysis and drawing again and writing again. So I think you and I have that in common. You've also done your own YouTube channel, and we've had some, back and forth on things like Move the Needle. Could you tell a little bit about your experience working with YouTube and maybe how that helped you kind of like get interested in comics again?
I'm the worst at YouTube. I cannot figure out a style. I did a few like production type videos on iMovie, and I've done just like in your lap Zach style videos. And the last couple of things I did, I was trying to kind of pull in that kind of cryptozoology, conspiracy kind of thing. I did a couple of videos like that, and I can't seem to really stick to anything in particular. So hopefully eventually I'll find something. And I like doing the production videos, but they take up a lot of time. It's not a lot of time that I have. So
I get it. Like the more time you put into a video, the less time you have to do anything else. So YouTube kind of rewards you for cranking out a whole bunch of vids, regardless of quality. Sometimes it seems.
Yeah, it's almost like it's quantity over quality. And like I'll read a comic and I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to comment on this and that and this and that. And then when I'm doing the review after I've read it, doing the like lap review or whatever, and I always forget all those big details that I thought were interesting about the comic. It's I'll remember some stuff and then forget a bunch of other stuff. And then I was like, I don't really want to go through and do the whole video again.
So I'd like to discuss a little bit about what you're hoping to accomplish with CyberLynx. Like what will the basic appeal be? What kind of genres might people like who will like CyberLynx? What are some exciting things we can expect to see happening?
Well, the basic theme, the overall theme is if you've ever seen like 80s TV shows, it's going to start off like Airwolf and then end up like Knight Rider. It's going to be an action comic. She's got this high-tech suit that she sort of stole it was designed for her, but kind of off the books. So she has the suit and has locked it down so only she can wear it. And it's got all this high-tech kind of weaponry and things like that. And so the reason she locked down the suit is because she doesn't trust the company that made it to not just use it to assassinate people. The guy that runs it's a CIA guy. And so she keeps the suit and she does her own kind of missions. And in this one, she still works with that company, but as long as she can make the decision, she feels like, you know, she's safe to use the suit.
Yeah.
So that's her kind of heroic kind of thing. She was in high school, she was a gymnast who was selected to be on the Olympic team. But without giving too much spoilery stuff, this particular book isn't her origin story. I figured it would be best to jump into what she can do with the suit and all that kind of stuff, and kind of hint at the origin, kind of drip a little bit out, and then maybe if we do another book, that'll be more of the origin story.
Yeah.
Got it.
See her in action, right?
Yes.
I dig the kind of themes of, you know, like using a big corporation to accomplish something versus maybe like the potential moral problems of that technology being misused. And it's a killer design. Mr. Marvel's drawn this design for you once before, right?
Yes. He was doing original characters for people, and he hooked us up.
Underworld Dream asks, what is the rating, and is it for kids, teens, or adults? Will there be nudity or gore?
No, it's going to be kind of like a PG-13. I kind of like it'll be a little bit rough. There's probably light cussing, but nothing too serious. Go ahead.
Like a good old action movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I want everybody to be able to like the comic, from adults to kids. I don't think you have to talk down to kids for them to enjoy the comic. You don't have to make it all kiddie and stuff like that.
And so it looks like...
Hey, guys, sorry about that.
Did you join us? Cool. So you're in the act of actually drawing a page from the script of CyberLynx halo diving from a plane. Is that right?
Well, I block things out, and then, like, that's why I have these 3 pages here. It's just to get a basic idea of how I want to structure a page. And then I'll go through. I already did the first 3 from his script earlier. I started on them this afternoon and setting up the scene and the colonel and the general and some nasty stuff happening on the plane. And we end up over here with the tarmac and the terminal, and then switched gears into this next one I'm working on.
And I won't reveal any like super secret spoilery details, but I did get to see the script for the first little part of this, and there's going to be some elements of, you know, murder mystery, some sneaky doings going on. So in addition to action, we're also going to have a bit of mystery to it, right?
Yeah. Well, the first half is kind of it's not really a whodunit, because they kind of already know who did it, but it's kind of a why done it. It's like, well, why did the bad guy feel the need to do this thing the way he did it? And the next act is gonna be figuring out. I don't want to get too much into it. It's gonna be more of, all right, now we're gonna figure out what he's going to do with why he did it. And the last act, the last act's gonna be a big secret. There's gonna be a lot of fun action, and for sure in the last one, that's going to be pretty much all action.
Yeah. It's a mystery, but more Jack Ryan, less Agatha Christie.
Yes.
Nice. You're speaking my dad's language. He did Jack Ryan novels.
Madame, the Orient Express, mule.
Yeah. The other characters in it, the other main characters that we've decided, one of them is called Fubar. And he's got a suit as well. His suit is more sledgehammer, where hers is more scalpel.
Yeah.
And the character of Adam, who runs the big company is called Archangel. Also kind of a reference, I said before, to Airwolf. He plays a similar role. The company is called Archangel, and his character is the one she doesn't quite trust, because he runs a company.
Yeah.
So we're gonna learn some more about that character too, and it's gonna be a few surprises with him.
Now, the 9-page comic you guys have done, that hasn't been released online yet or in print anywhere.
We haven't decided what we're going to do with that yet. I think when we do the Indiegogo, we'll try to maybe release that either as an extra to the story, or maybe put some more stuff in and do a like an ash can or something.
Yeah, because if we have the opportunity to see some of that, what I've noticed about your 9-page comic is that shows you've got some really solid action chops. Like, you know, she's jumping all around, she's showing off this really cool suit of armor. That's one of the things about really cool suits of armor is, you know, sometimes artists have trouble, you know, animating them from every angle. But yeah, right here, I mean, it's got an Iron Man vibe, but really it's its own distinct thing. So it's a similar kind of badass feel to it.
Yeah, the suit is it's like a 3-part thing. Like she wears an undersuit that's like a bodysuit kind of thing, and it is that part makes her stronger and faster. And it's also got her main defense, which is it's like a graviton field that they call it an inertial buffer. And in the comic, what it is it can control it can control the gravitons around her, so that like if somebody punches her, it reduces the impact.
Yeah.
So it would be like if Mike Tyson punched her, it'd be like she was punched by Andy Dick, you know. So it reduces impact of her getting hit, her falling, and that kind of stuff. But she can also use it in limited amounts to reduce the gravity of something she's holding, or reduce her own gravity. Well, you see that when you read in the script, you saw that's what this main scene, this first action scene's about, is her using that to its pretty much its fullest potential.
Would it be fair to say that Halo and some of the science fiction elements of that have informed both of you?
Yeah, to an extent. I tried to avoid, like right now she can't fly in the suit. I tried to avoid Iron Man stuff as much as possible. I mean, there's only so many places you can really go with the armored suit. I tried to avoid as much as I can a lot of the tropes associated with it.
Something that I think
would be a lie to not say that Halo affected me. I used to do this comic strip.
Wow.
I did this for a better part of a year and a half.
Oh, I bet my roommates and I checked that out at some point. Gosh.
Yeah, that was the last one from, 2011, yeah.
Wow. Halo
right after Reach came out.
Right after Reach came out? Yeah. I remember, because Reach was kind of like the national pastime of college when I was there. That's wild.
It changed a lot over the years. You look at the first one, you can see how ugly it is.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, is you learn to draw the more you do it, and you develop your style as time goes on.
I noticed even in the 9 pages that we did, I could see it got there was some improvement in it. I mean, just doing those 9 pages, it seemed like it got a little tighter, a little more detailed.
I think the best improvement came from when we hired the colorist.
Yeah. That guy. The colorist we're going to go with is M. Laborde, who did Jack Irons.
Jack Steele.
I love how it's like a family. Like you keep running into the same names over and over again in our corner of Twitter. Something you guys talked to me about that I think would be really interesting is the name CyberLynx. It's like a really sexy title, and originally it was Lynx, right?
Yeah, originally it was Lynx, and I was like, well, it seemed like a cool name. And then looking it up, I tried looking it up, making sure I didn't use the same thing, and I found out one of the hardest things about writing comics, especially superhero comics, is coming up with a name for your character that someone hasn't already swiped. So there's like 2 or 3 different Lynx people. So then eventually, I mean, we went through a whole bunch of different names and eventually came up with CyberLynx. And now EVS, he brought back CyberFrog.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm like, oh man, now people are gonna think that I'm copying. But I think we're gonna see. If anybody thinks that it'll be confusing at all, they can let us know.
Yeah. Well, or maybe he'd be up for a crossover event if you guys hit it big on Indiegogo.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I noticed the gluten-free shirt in the background, which I got a kick out of that.
I want to make that a running joke.
Yeah, I love that joke.
Comics that we do. I think it'd be funny to put somewhere a little gluten-free reference. I love doing Easter eggs, so we're gonna try to. In the last issue, or in the last part of the story arc, the last bit, there's an homage. I'm not gonna reveal what it is. I think when somebody sees it, anybody sees it, they'll get it. There's a whole scene that's an homage to a famous movie. And nice. I think once I write it out, I'm gonna have to watch the movie over and over again to get all the scenes. But I think it'll be a really fun reference.
Dave, you might need to like test your mic, maybe like unplug it and plug it back in. I had a couple sentences cut out, I think.
Is this working now?
I can. Is that you, Paul? I think I can hear you just fine.
Thank you.
How about now?
Sounds good, Dave.
All right.
All right.
You guys will have to forgive me. The minute my family hears that I'm doing something, that's when they need everything.
That's all right. I like the solution of just writing "We'll be right back" on the screen. That's clever. So Indy and Paul, either of you could hop in on this one, but you've talked about how there's this murder mystery aspect to it. You don't want to talk down to kids, but you kind of want it to be, PG-13 or, pretty kid friendly. You're not going to be throwing a lot of blood and guts in people's faces. Could you talk a little bit about what inspires you both for writing and drawing comics?
I go back to the stuff I really like. I mean, I like Superman comic. Oh, not Superman comic. I like superhero comics in general when I was a kid. Plus, we're both kind of into like 80s action movies and 90s action movies and that kind of stuff. So one of the things I find it hard it's something I got to kind of loosen up in my mind is I'll come up with a concept and then it'll be like, well, that sounds unrealistic. And then I have to remember it's a comic book. I don't have to, and like you don't have to understand the laws of physics, but for the story to work, you have to at least be consistent with the rules within the world that you're working with.
Right. Do you plan things out in advance, or do you maybe just have general ideas of what will be coming down the road for CyberLynx?
Right now, I'm kind of concentrating on this one. I actually have the first script written out for her origin story. We'll see when we get to that one how this works out. That one's, I think I've got the first 22 pages for that one, and that one will probably once we're done with this one, that one will probably be, well, I'm sure it'll need some rewrites to kind of link it into this one.
And something that's really important to, are you drawing Cyberfrog? Perchance? I just saw like the angry eyebrows and wondered. Anyway, something that might be important to underscore is that, obviously the more successful an independent comic artist can be, the more time they can devote to creating their universe and their characters and their world. And you've taken some time to produce some slick art that I think will really grab people's attention. Solid color, solid action, solid detail work on the armor. It's really eye-catching, and that's a really important part of action comics, especially. So I think you're heading in the right direction by thinking about the visuals and putting a lot of care and attention into the visuals.
Yeah, I couldn't.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a lot of cutout. Is it just me, or are you guys experiencing this as well?
I hear a little cutout from your audio, Paul, and we had a little cutout from. Hello, Paul. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, let's do it. Let's do a mic test. Okay, testing. Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Test.
I heard you. Okay, Paul, can you hear us? Okay.
I got test from Dave. That's about it.
Okay. Shoot. Well, let's try to muddle on, and we'll hopefully the Wi-Fi will sort itself out.
I can talk my way through it.
Sure. Nice. Dave, could you talk a little bit about I don't know, maybe like indie comics projects that you've resonated with, and maybe like talk about like people in the community who you've appreciated?
The current ones coming out right now, I'm really excited about Bigfoot Bill. I love his like super cartoony style, and listening to the story, it just sounds like a lot of fun. I just saw one the other day called T-Bird and Throttle, which I guess they're on issue 2 now, and I'm like, why have I not heard of this? Because again, it looks kind of like a Saturday morning cartoon,
Yeah.
The story's really cool about some like an old retired superhero, that kind of stuff. And those are the two. I haven't backed that one yet. I'm still deciding whether I will, because I've backed quite a bit, and it's probably yeah, my wife's not getting very happy about that. So.
We're cursed with
telling you, man, we need a club, a trade-off club for some of these, because
yeah, I did manage. I won't have to borrow your Red Rooster. I did manage to back that one.
Nice.
All right.
But those are the ones. Those are two. Like I said, the other one I haven't backed it, but the Red Rooster one looks really good. I like all the main ones. I also back Jack Irons.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Cyberfrog looks really good. I'm actually really excited. One, because I've worked with eBay and he's a cool guy. I'm really excited to get Iron Sights, and nice. I should be getting that one soon. So that's actually one that I'm really excited to get.
I think I'm gonna have to do like a roast of that one, because I missed the roasting of Jawbreakers, and I don't know. I feel like it's the one thing that unites all of comics Twitter, even anti-comics gate. We all love to roast our boy Zach whenever he makes something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bad idea.
Is there anybody who's listening has any questions?
Yeah, that's right. At me, chat, and I'll pass on any questions about CyberLynx to IndieDave and ZZombie13. Paul, do you like being called by your Twitter handle, or do you only use that as a username?
Oh, I don't care.
Okay.
There was a while where more people knew me as Zombie13 than knew me as Paul, but
yeah,
you know, those are back in the forum days when forums were still a thing.
Right.
Looks like
it really doesn't matter to me. I answer to either.
Looks like Underworld Dream wants. If there's other projects they want to do. I actually came up with an idea that I think it would be an eBay style, but I called it the Henchman, and it's basically the idea is the guy has been working as kind of a low level kind of arm breaker for the mafia for his whole life, and then one day he's asked to do a job and his conscience just gets to him and he can't do it, and that kind of story would end up being like a Jack Reacher kind of story.
Nice.
That's something I've got, just like the basic concept idea for it. I'd like to work on in the future.
I kind of resonate with that, and part of the exciting thing for me about comics Twitter is I probably have like 3 stories that I want to draw in my life, and then every other story idea I've ever come up with, I figured, yeah, I'd hire an artist to do that one for me. And now there are like all of these interesting people to potentially work with if you can just like arrange it and get it done.
Yeah. It's almost like we're passing each other around. The writers are passing artists around, and artists are getting, working with people. It seems like that they want to work with too.
Yeah.
It's almost like everybody's got their choice.
Don't pimp me out, Daddy.
Except for Rabati.
This might be irrelevant. Yeah.
Nasser's sending scripts to everybody.
Yeah.
He's going to take.
Are you interested in? I was going to say, are you interested in potential collaboration in the future? Maybe like CyberLynx appearing as a guest star somewhere.
I would love that. I think that would be awesome. I wouldn't mind if like
that would be so cool.
Yeah, so there's these other people that they're starting these other universes, like Blacklist Universe, and doing their thing, and the other I can't think of his name now. The guy that did Ravage. I think he's doing a universe.
Rag Zombie?
Hmm?
Are you thinking of Rag Zombie?
No, not Rag Zombie. Ravage.
I
can't think of
Ravage Kill All Men.
Yeah. I think they're doing their own kind of universe thing. And I wouldn't if there was any way, like,
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I just heard it cut. I heard my cut.
Yeah, you're cutting out too. Hold on, I'm gonna unplug this again. How about that?
All right, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, if we could slide into someone else's universe, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think our other character, Fubar, has potential to kind of spin off in his own deal too.
Tell me a little about Fubar. Was he the original main character?
No, the original main character. The original idea for that script was, it was kind of like I want to say reverse Batman. And I got to thinking one day, I'm like, man, if Batman were real, he would have been dead in the first year just from getting beat up and shot and all this other stuff, stabbed and things. And I thought, well, what if instead of one character Batman, there was kind of an organization, and what they did was the Bruce Wayne character never wore the Batman suit. What he did was he would hire people, and there would be 4 or 5 working at a time, and they would convince the criminal element that there was one guy who was, quote unquote, it wouldn't be called Batman, but there was one guy who was the superhero. But in reality, it would be like a whole team of people. Because to me, that's the only way a Batman would work. So that was the original idea.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
The Lynx character was, in that particular story, she designed the suit that they wore, and then she designed her own suit because she was upset because, well, all the superheroes would have to be male, you know, for it to work, because everybody couldn't be like, well, how come it was a girl this time? So
right.
She designed her own suit, and in this universe, she doesn't design the suit in CyberLynx, but she designed the software that runs the suit. So that's how she can lock it down.
It also adds. I like how you're thinking about some of the like the realism elements to the fantasy story, like, because it adds a little bit of a distinct flavor to your world for how things work. Yeah, and I like how I like independent characters. Going back to like Scrooge McDuck, I always like characters who kind of take charge of their own life and their own freedom, and that's what strikes me about Lynx as you describe her origin.
Yeah, she suffers a family tragedy, and as a result, because she gets her letter to go to be on the Olympic team, and on that day she finds that out and she's real happy. Then she gets some really bad family news, and instead of a lot of people, well, or what some people would think of a hero, you would think, well, I'm going to do it for this person, and I'm going to be the best at the Olympics that I could be and stuff. Instead, she shuts down, and she loses the opportunity because she ages out of the program.
Wow.
So then when she goes to college, she still does gymnastics as a kind of way to like clear her mind and stuff. But her friend designs a suit on some of her recommendations, because she saw this. The Fubar suit is the original suit, and her suit, and like her friend showed her the suit, and she was like, well, that's big and clunky, and it's not something that, you know, that makes much sense to her. And he took that and he was like, oh, well, she's an Olympic, or she was a gymnast. He knew she was a gymnast. So he designed a suit specifically for her, just to test her theory about having a suit that somebody who was really agile could use.
Yeah.
Jump around.
So this project is you're still working on it, and you want to have some finished art for your Indiegogo eventually. Do you have maybe like a rough plan of maybe not like the exact date, but when can people start to expect to see some more CyberLynx, do you think?
Like, the plan is 5 fully good colored pages, and we'll see what Paul does when what we get for pages done. And we probably won't do 5 pages in a row. It'll just be, you know, 5 really good action shots to display what we're doing. So, I mean, it's as much up to Paul when he can find time to do it. Like I said, it's neither one of our full-time job, but once we can get an Indiegogo running, you know, once we can start it up and we feel comfortable doing that, I think then he can prioritize it a little more if he's actually getting money to work on it.
Yeah. It's important to you to make sure your artist is
I've had to stop taking commissions.
Well, he's got to pay his bills, and that's, I mean, I understand that fully. You know, he's got to get his bills paid and stuff. And if we could make this help pay the bills, you know, for both of us or whatever, I can't imagine myself leaving my current job to do this full time.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can get if the potential gets there, then I mean, I obviously I would jump in a second.
I think I'm always going to want steady work, because I feel like half the YouTubers, they spend half their time complaining about YouTube because they've made that their entire livelihood.
Yeah, you never know when they're just going to dump you completely.
Yeah,
monetize your channel because you said something wrong.
So I'm always going to want some sort of steady job, and then YouTube and comic book business as my second job.
If this if comics works out as any kind of pay, I can probably see it more as, okay, now I'm retired.
Yep.
When I retire from my other job, then I can do this full time as kind of an extra pay, and for if it's working good, it's a little extra side work and keeps me busy and stuff in my retirement.
Right. Tell me a little bit about your scripting process, Dave, because I kind of noticed that you have some like visual details. Sometimes you rework some things from script to final page. What's the process been like for you as a writer?
When I write the script, if you want to go right from soup to nuts, it's basically I come up with the concept, and then I try to brainstorm it a lot, get the characters down, and then I get a basic idea of, okay, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen for the story to work. And then I go into each individual thing. I'm like, all right, for this act to happen, these things have to happen. So I really break stuff down into details, and then I go page by page by page and do the actual script. All the panels, I don't know if you can see this on the screen at all. My panel description.
Yeah, I'll present your screen, Dave.
Yeah, my panel descriptions are really a lot of suggestions. Like when I give it to Paul, he can do whatever he wants. My concern is the story gets told. So if I'm like, okay, in this scene, this panel, it's at this angle, this panel, it's at this angle. He doesn't have to draw it that way. If he thinks that works, that's cool. If he's like, well, you know what, I think I can do it, better this way, or I think at this angle, or maybe these two panels could be one panel with all the same information. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. To me, as long as the story is getting told that I want to tell. So I'm not less concerned with the art, but I'm less concerned with his interpretation of what I've put down on the page than as long as the story is being told.
We've got a couple neato questions from the chat. Underworld Dream asks, will there be a pinup stretch goal? A lot of comic skaters are doing it.
We've talked about different stretch goals. Like I said, we're still kind of brainstorming all that. We'd like for sure a cover artist, one of the big names for cover artist, depending on how much money we get. I don't have a problem. I mean, a lot of the art stuff that's on Paul, and if we discuss it,
right.
He wants to do stuff. That's
there's also
possibly going to somebody, getting like Sashi or somebody doing something like that. I'm not against that at all. I like to gauge the audience, not just this audience, but people along the way, and see what they think. Yeah, here's some of the concept stuff right now. It looks really good.
Maybe someone will draw CyberLynx with a super crown like Bowsette.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
But yeah, I'm open to almost anything that I think will get people interested in the project. I mean, pinups are cool. One of the things, and this is just me, because I'm married with kids, but like they did she did the really cool poster for Iron Sights. I'm like, I've got no place to hang that. My wife's not going to let me put that in the wall. I mean, it was cool and all. It was a really cool poster, but for me personally, that wasn't really a draw. But I don't have a problem with, if people are really interested and want pinup stuff, I don't have an issue with that at all.
Yeah. Yves La Renaissance asks, what do you think of Riri Williams' suit in comparison to CyberLynx?
Honestly,
I like now that they've redesigned it. I think it's fine.
I think I didn't see it.
I'm trying not to copy, of course.
There was an issue of Champions or something where Thanos gave it the smackdown. And I think they changed that, right?
Right, and now it has a bit more of a heart motif to it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it that much. I don't follow. But I think I've seen a couple of pictures and it looked pretty decent.
Yeah.
I don't think he's drawn any inspiration from that, and I haven't really thought about it. So
I'm kind of like, well, what's the word? I'm like OCD about minimizing the number of details, and so I made fun of that by like drawing her with like dinky little legs, because the cover of Ironheart 1, it's oddly foreshortened.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, what you guys did that I like is you have the undersuit have the extra line, so it's like musculature, and then the armor on top is a little bit more simple shape. So it has, you know, like clearly discernible, you know, visual areas. So I think that you're maybe taking a little bit of, you know, like mecha suit Japanese manga inspiration, but making it your own thing. Whereas I think the new Ironheart Riri Williams armor, it's different than Iron Man, but I don't think they like blended it together quite as well. I like your solution.
Yeah, well, she's meant, like I said, the undersuit has a lot of the technology in it, and with the graviton stuff that stops the impact, it wouldn't stop a bullet, but because it would slow a bullet down enough, the armor can be of a lighter steel, a lighter gauge steel, to deflect the bullet, because the bullet will be going slower by the time it gets to her.
Yeah,
a little bit of thought actually went into that, and the helmet is where all, because basically the software is called CyberLynx. That's what she came up with.
yeah,
and it's kind of a super Google, so it can basically hack into anything from anywhere, using, you know, Wi-Fi, radio, cellular. If they can do satellite uplinks, whatever it needs to do, and it's kind of it's an AI sort of. It's not AI in the way that like the Iron Man suit would be AI, where it talks to you and stuff like that. It works more like a retriever dog. Like,
right.
you would request. She's like, okay, I need to know this information, and it would search for it and then bring it back, and she has to analyze the data. It's not like some guy talking to her in the suit. I wanted to be more about her than about
less Cortana, more the machine from Person of Interest.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's kind of cool. I love that show. I actually really like that show.
It's interesting that she's not impervious to bullets. So you've brought her down to earth enough that she's killable, but she can still do some like badass action sequences using her agility.
Yeah, I didn't want to make a completely, you know, indestructible character. That one of the things is, you know, one of the big criticisms is, oh, it doesn't have any flaws. One of her other flaws is she's really only been doing what she's been doing with the suit for a few months at this point in the book. She's not really a trained fighter. Fubar is teaching her, but she's relying a lot on the defenses of the suit, and she's relying a lot on her skills as a gymnast, her flexibility and that kind of stuff. But that's more defensive, and it's going to come in later that she needs to work more on actual learning to fight better. And I think I talked to Paul, and one of the things I want to do is make her kind of a Muay Thai style, because I think it's more visual. There's a lot of punching and kicking, plus you can mix it with the gymnastics, and she can do a lot of, you know, jumping around and stuff.
Underworld Dream asks a question that kind of segues with what we talked about before, but asks, will we see CyberLynx crossover with Cyberfrog, maybe as an actual Lynx? And you're open to that. It's just nothing like that's been planned yet, right?
I have never, well, actually, no. I did talk to EVS at a convention one time, but I mean, we didn't discuss CyberLynx at all. It was mostly me fanboying and getting him to sign my Cyberfrog comics. So
maybe we should do like a Notice Me Senpai move the needle for you guys.
Absolutely. We'd love to be. Last night EVS was like, hey, any random people, we're going to put the links and you can come on the show. And for whatever reason, I didn't try it. I should have tried to jump on with them last night.
That's too bad. Doug did that too, and I missed it. Doug Tenapel was going to invite some random guests, and I didn't know he meant for like immediately. I thought he was like planning something for later in the week. So I said, yeah, I'd be up for that. And then I did a stream, and I came back and I realized he did it while I was in the middle of doing my stream.
Yeah, I think you and Doug would have a great conversation.
Oh yeah, I was a fan of his work for years before Comicsgate happened, or I even noticed him on Twitter. Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do something like this with Doug. I'd be fanboying out over Earthworm Jim stuff. Evil the Cat, tell me more.
Yeah, Now I'd seen the cartoon Earthworm Jim. I was aware of the video game and stuff. I was never like super into it like other stuff, but I did recognize the name. And when he first started coming on the Comicsgate scene, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, Doug Knaple. Yeah, I've heard of him. And then the more I looked into it, the more I was like, yeah, I love his really cartoony style. One of my favorite types of styles is, I mean, there's like super detailed stuff like EVS does, and sometimes I like stuff that's more it's more suggestive of actual detail. You know what I'm talking about? It's simple,
Yeah.
but there's stuff that's just suggestive, and it's like, well, that's cool too for for different types of stories.
Nice. Now we're getting maybe a gem. So is it Jim or something else Doug Knaple related?
What's that about? The
Oh, from Paul. Paul's drawing something new.
Oh, okay.
Earthworm.
Nice. Knaple was having like a back and forth with someone, and he talked about how he likes to have fluidity of line and elasticity of character in all of his art. And I totally gel with that because, sometimes he'll kind of like, stretch his characters in a cartoony way to get his expression. Like they always have like, weight and a really noticeable action line. So it's a very fluid kind of living, breathing way of drawing.
Coffee? Oh, I'd love a coffee, please, and thank you.
Okay, so Eve La Renaissance asked a question, and I might be able to answer this one, but you guys can take it too. She asked, why is she called Lynx? Can she jump really high? And what I recall is you guys said you wanted her to have like a lot of flexibility as opposed to like a, like a brick wall type of superhero.
Well, the idea is that her suit, if you look at it, a lot of the little details are kind of cat related. So, and Lynx, I just thought it was a cool. When I first thought of the name for the character, I'd gone through 100 different names, and I was like, at the time I was like, oh, I didn't see anybody named Lynx. So I was like, well, that's cool. And then right now, it refers to her kind of cat sort of motif.
Yeah.
But it also refers to, like I said, the software is called CyberLynx. It's like linking stuff together. But so they're both. It's kind of a play on both.
I remember when I was a kid, I would just look up different like big cat names to come up with superhero ideas. So I'd get like the, like big book of cat species, and then I'd come up with a superhero design for each one.
And that's what I did actually. I was like, I looked at a whole bunch of different big cats. I'm like, oh, there's already a character named Caracal. Oh, there's already a character, and I was like, I can't really call her Bobcat.
Yeah. What can you guys tell me about? What would you like people to know about CyberLynx in general? So I already asked you before, like, what can they expect? But what kind of comic book fan do you want to appeal to?
It's a little bit of sci-fi.
As many as possible.
Yeah.
I like action adventure kind of stuff, and that's what it's going to be. There's some spy type stuff, and maybe hopefully the way we design the character, it'll appeal to a lot of different people. It'll appeal to people that like superheroes. It'll appeal to people that like the action adventure, who kind of like James Bond type stuff. And
yeah,
I'm hoping that it'll be a nice blend that a lot of people will be able to say, oh yeah, there's this element is something that I'm interested in, or this particular element is something I'm interested in.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to evolving the armor over time. That's kind of the thing that's got me the most excited about working on this character with Dave.
Nice.
He came up with some
getting to see it go from its birth to who knows where.
Yeah, he came up with some cool stuff that I want to put in. And what we'll probably do is this will be, since she's only been doing it for a few months, the armor's still kind of new, relatively new. So I think we'll put in some elements later on down in this story. I think we'll do a major upgrade before the end. A lot of the story stuff, like last night, I woke up at like 2 in the morning. It's just all these things. Oh, I gotta add this little bit of exposition so it makes sense that she's doing it this way and she's doing this, and then once that ball starts rolling, then it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen in the next story arc, and what are we going to do? And then, oh, this idea sounds good, and then it kept me up all night.
I like that. There's a lot. I can tell there's a lot of back and forth between you two as a writer artist team. And I think that's a spicy element that's a big part of a successful comic. Is the writer has passion for the character and the artist has passion for bringing the visual dynamism to life. So I'm excited for CyberLynx.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a lynx?
That's Evil the cat.
I never knew Earthworm Jim. I knew that Doug TenNapel was the creator of Earthworm Jim, but I knew him from his other comic work, and I never played any of the games. So I'm kind of a fake geek guy on Earthworm Jim.
That's where I got on the TenNapel train. I loved those games. Those games were so funny. Even my mom, this was back in the 90s. I was going to college when Earthworm Jim came out. My mom would laugh while I was playing the game. Just the comedy was so pervasive through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm launching the cow, Mom. It just said I had to do it. Good times.
Have you guys read Cardboard?
I have not. Like I said, I knew who Doug TenNapel was, and I knew who Earthworm Jim was, and I put that kind of together. But now I'm more into Doug TenNapel now, listening to him and watching his channel. I love the thing he does with Nurkish and Mike Nelson. Whenever I can, I make sure I try to watch that one. But I love his style of interview and watching him draw and that kind of stuff. That's more where I've gotten into him is recently.
Yeah, I think I'll review Cardboard because that was my first introduction to him, and I think I could offer like a neat perspective because it shows a lot of his drawing style. Obviously it shows a little bit of his kind of story focus. So I think that'd be interesting for people, especially who've just backed Bigfoot Bill, is to hear a little bit about the other interesting comic work he's done because he's done a lot.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I did like an eBay search of him for some of his other comics, and I was surprised at how much other stuff came up.
Eve La Renaissance says, I liked The Neverhood. I'm guessing that's another Doug TenNapel one. Have you guys ever heard of Neverhood?
I've heard of it. Like I've heard him talk about
Heard of it, but I don't have much experience with it.
Okay. Paul, do you want to tell us a little bit about your thought process on the page you're drawing?
I'm sorry, I'm glitching out a little bit there. What was that?
I'm sorry. I asked you if you could you tell us a little bit about the page you're working on? Like, what are you thinking about as you work on it?
Oh, yeah. This is where she's dropping out of the plane, doing a drop, getting ready to go on her mission. This little part right here, I'm just following Dave's script as close as I can. We're on panel 3. I like doing things like this, starting with them going one way. I like to change it up as I go. I want to get better at my, what do you call it? Composition, get better at panel layouts. I'm trying. I'm trying real hard, man.
I can tell. And I like I like seeing the creative reworking process. Like, this thing doesn't quite work. So you try it that away and then you try it this away. It's an interesting process to watch.
One of the things about writing is, like, I know there's writing the comic and having a really good artist is there are some scenes where really it's just two people talking. And that's one of the things I was thinking about last night, stuff that's going through my head is you've got scenes where, and the information you have to give to the audience, but you're like, man, just having two people standing around talking to each other it's boring to look at. So I have to kind of like, hey, here's what's going on. And maybe if you could, hit some better angles or have them doing something a little bit. Like there's one right after this scene, they're having a conversation, her and Fubar, and it's and I put him, well, he could be training her while they're talking. So instead of just looking at two people standing around or sitting in chairs, it's two people actually doing something while they're having this conversation.
Right. It adds action.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's boring to have 3 pages of just two people just standing around or sitting at a table or whatever. I mean, eventually, I guess you got to have some of those scenes sometimes, but I try not to do that too much.
It's one of those draw comics the Marvel way kind of lessons that I learned early on, trying to get the layouts dynamic and exciting, even when it's something that's normally mundane.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I've seen with him, but it's something I've seen with others. I want to make sure everybody's super expressive, or at least has a, you can look at them and without the dialogue, you can almost maybe see what they're thinking. That's the kind of thing I want to see. Is you can look at facial expressions as much as you can. I mean, she's got a mask on, obviously, but in certain things, you'd like to be able to look at it and at least have an idea of what she's thinking, or at least what she's feeling, or what other characters are thinking or feeling. Even somebody who's really stoic still has something going on in their head. They have a certain confidence. They have a certain whatever. So even if they're stoic, there's still something you can look in their face and see that there's an emotion going on.
So body language is obviously very important for a masked character. Have you considered maybe having like a little cheat, like the Spider-Man eyes, where maybe you can get like a little, I don't know, like a glimpse or a shadow of a expression through her visor?
That's something Paul would have to work out. I think he's drawn. I can't remember. I think he's drawn something where you can see a little bit through, but I can't remember if it's in the 9-pager. That's
the armor stuff will mostly be like the on mission look for the character, but we've got her with. I had that. Yeah. There's the different looks of the different phases of the armor: undersuit, helmet, without the helmet, and of course the character herself. That's showing up? Yeah, okay. And double check, make sure it's still showing up properly.
So I've had a chance to cover most of the important questions I wanted to cover with you guys. So I figured we can kind of like go into like free mode. Anyone jump in? What are some fun things you'd like to talk about relating to this project, guys?
Like I can't wait till we can finally get some pages to do the Indiegogo. I'm gonna try to add more characters. There's another. You read the script. There's a bad guy called the Hungarian.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see kind of the designs that he's going to come up with for that guy. And there's other characters, and that's the fun thing I love, is that I've written the character, and then I'm like, here, I give it to Paul here. Let me see what you think of, what you think this character looks like based on my description. And that's stuff I really love. You know how excited I was the first time he showed me the concept art, the very first picture of CyberLynx. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yes, sir.
It was just because it was the first time I'd done that. I'd given something an idea and it came out, and then we started working on the story, and that was really exciting. I really liked it.
Yeah, the thing that makes me the happiest about the whole project, like I said a little bit earlier, is just I've tried to work with a lot of writers over the years, and and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but it always so often comes down to a battle of egos. But we've been getting together. We've been getting along better than any writer I've ever worked with, which is very exciting from my angle.
It's because we've done.
If I have a suggestion, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know we've done some stuff where we've had little disagreements on things, but we always kind of work something out and find some middle ground or whatever. And sometimes we did one of the comic strips. We're working on the script. It's like, oh, that joke kind of falls flat. What about this? And we kind of went over and over, and we came to a solution. It was like, bam! It was like, wow, that worked out great. We both just kind of put in our ideas and worked it completely differently and made it work. It was really good.
So this might be something that's still behind the scenes, but you guys are working on a completely separate project that's a web comic. You want to give people any like little hints of what that might be coming down the road?
It's a lot of those going to be. It's a comic strip, and it's kind of it's not like an ongoing story comic strip. It's more of one-note jokes or a couple of gags that we write, and we're going to do it a lot. It's going to be roasting a little bit, just kind of fun roasting of some of these Comicsgate projects. I got a really good script that I need to adjust for Jawbreakers, and it's
nice.
Once I get that one, I have to find that one again. Once I get that one written for the characters that we're going to use, that one's going to be a really funny bit. That one's going to work out as one of our best ones. But we've done some where we roast We've done one where we roast Red Rooster. Zach, yeah, we got a really good just Zach one. So we've got maybe 6 or 7 scripts written out that are really good. And we were thinking, and maybe we'll still do it, is do a Patreon for that, and let the Patreon pay to get the other comic going a little more. And once we have like I said, the 5 good pages, then it's.
I feel like we need to.
Go ahead.
I feel like we need to play the cops theme right here.
Yeah, there it is. That's our 2 characters. Maybe you recognize them.
I could do that, but I don't want to get your channel flagged.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. And these are the 2 main characters. Like I said, everybody probably recognizes them. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some other YouTubers and some other Comicsgate people as side characters. And it's been a lot of fun.
We could have Marmaduke be a snitch.
Yeah.
A loyal police dog.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's a fun project. We've got a couple of those done, and we'll release some of those here hopefully soon, and then hopefully jump up a Patreon to that one to help kind of kickstart the other one.
You should consider doing webcom. What are they called? Like read aloud comics based on what you do. Like there's this whole weird YouTube subgenre of people who just find comics on Tumblr and then they read them aloud and voice act the characters, and they'll get like 1 million subs. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Are you serious? That's a thing?
Yeah. And if you're making your own stuff, you're not infringing on anybody. So if people can do it and kind of sort of infringe on other people's work, you can definitely do it with your own work.
When we finally drop,
oh my God! You know what? If anyone wants to bring up any of my old comics and do that, my blessing. Just send me the link.
When we're ready, when we get a few of these in the can too, I wouldn't mind. I think I've talked to Cecil once about it, and he's been like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." That was before the cash grab thing. But like, so none of these are going to be on that kind of a level. It's more; these are a little more family friendly than that's.
Yeah. And I think there's a big place for like simple gag strips. That's one of the ways of knowing you have a healthy community is you can just like throw a joke out there and give people a smile.
Yeah. I know one of the things Paul said, he had a character. He hasn't showed it to me yet, that he came up with a long time ago. And hopefully at some point I'll get to look at that one, and we'll work something out with that.
I gotta find it.
That'd be definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it yet. So I mean, I imagine that's something we'll look at after we're done this one, after we're done the CyberLynx one.
Yeah, get one successful project in the bag, build your audience, go to the next one. Come tap me on the shoulder when you're ready for the second one for a live stream announcement.
All right. Hey, anybody in the chat, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I'm at IndieDaveComix, and Paul's over at ZZombie13. So the best thing you can do if there's only a few people here, is spread the word. Just let them know, hey, I saw this cool comic, and check out Marmaduke's video where they interviewed the creators. Like I said, right now we're just trying to build up a little buzz, so people know that we're actually working on something.
Oh, nice. Paul's doing a little signature. I'm not gonna. So I want to give you guys enough time to talk a little bit about anything important relating to your comic, but I want us to kind of like start reaching the point where we're winding up. So Dave, we know you're at IndieDaveComix. We know you're on YouTube. We know Paul's at ZZombie13. What are some important takeaways for people for CyberLynx that we should be looking forward to in the future?
It's going to be a comic for everyone. I mean, that's kind of it's kind of a cliche, but there should be a little bit in it to interest everybody. It's family. It'll be family friendly. There'll probably be a little bit of blood and stuff. So there's some violence, but there's nothing over the top. Not a whole lot of cussing in it. It'll be it's not something that I think you'll be afraid to show your kids if you pick it, when it's finished and you're getting ready to pick it up. It'll be something that's safe to show almost anybody in your family.
Paul, you want to say anything to send people off?
I'm sorry, I'm still getting cutouts here.
Oh, I asked you if you wanted to say
trouble hearing.
Okay, I asked if you wanted to say anything for like the audience to send them off.
Just thanks for tuning in. I hope you like what you see. We're really looking forward to making these. Hit me up on Twitter anytime. DMs are open.
Awesome. And
I love talking to anybody. And
you guys have an open invitation to join me again on my channel when you're either when you're like about set to launch the Indiegogo or right after it's launched. I'd love to have you guys back and we'll have some kicking things to talk about, I think.
Absolutely. As soon as we're getting.
God bless you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. You've been great guests. I'll give you both an opportunity to say goodbye to everyone too. So, right. Dave, why don't you start?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for showing a little bit of interest in us. Like I said, watch us on Twitter and check out my really terrible YouTube page. And I hope you like what you're seeing.
All right. Thank you all so much. Paul, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, thanks to you for having us, man. I'm a fan of your channel. I like following you on Twitter. I appreciate your positivity.
You guys are such sweethearts. I love it. Well, thank you. You've both been great guests, and thank you to everyone in the chat. And I'm looking forward to moving the needle for CyberLynx more in the future.
Sweet. Right.
Good night, everyone.
Awesome.
Good night.